This is the B&O Sports Show with your hosts, Tanner Ballard and Garrett Otto. Hey everybody, and welcome to the B&O Sports Show. My name is Tanner Ballard.
And I'm Garrett Otto. This is kind of our first go at the podcast. Just going to be talking about some football here, NFL and college. Tanner, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. So like I said, my name is Tanner Ballard. I am 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school, and I currently live in Newnan, Georgia. It's a suburb just south of Atlanta. I go to Newnan High School, and we'll go ahead and say that my favorite football team is the Green Bay Packers. I'm a big fan of the Packers. I used to live in Green Bay, and I used to live in Chicago, which I believe that is where my counterpart still lives. Is that right, Garrett?
Yeah, that's right. I'm Garrett Otto, as I mentioned earlier. Also senior in high school, also 18. I go to the lovely Geneva Community High School in Geneva, Illinois, which is just about 40 minutes west of downtown Chicago. Great school, isn't it, Tanner? It's a great school.
Absolutely. We spent the ninth grade together. That's where we became really good friends. So that's kind of where we get this connection. And right now we're having to go with the long distance podcast, which it's going to work out for us.
It'll be great. So let's get rolling. Start off, jump right into the NFL because it's always easy to jump right into the NFL with so much going on. And Tanner, I know it's been a tough week for you in the NFL as a fan. Oh, those Green Bay Packers. What happened? What happened on Thanksgiving?
Oh, man, too many things happened. Well, like you said, we're jumping in the NFL. We're jumping right in the middle of the NFL as far as this season goes. We're in Week 12 here. Looking back at this past week, we had these Thanksgiving games. And, man, like Garrett said, my Packers, we struggled against the Chicago Bears. It was a rough day for the Packers receivers. And I know a lot of people like to blame Jordy Nelson. Not blame him, but they like to point fingers at his injury as causing the Packers' offensive problems. But I don't think that's the case because we have Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback. And unfortunately, in that game, the receivers, we couldn't catch anything. Our offense struggled to produce. Fair play to the Bears for winning the game, for playing well. Their offense did what they needed to do, and their defense played well. But I still think the Packers should have won that game without a doubt.
Yeah, it's tough. But, you got to give credit where credit's due. Bears have been playing a lot better over the past few weeks. Jay Cutler kind of seems to be stepping up. And it's kind of one of those things where I think if you asked a lot of Bears fans right now if they're okay with Cutler being the starting quarterback next year, a lot of them might be more comfortable with it than they were earlier in the season. Everyone knows, I think, that Jay Cutler can play when he shows up. It's just that he doesn't show up often.
It's a matter of showing up.
But, I thought he played a good game on Thursday. But as you mentioned, those Packers, they've got some work to do. Something isn't right there. It's really hard to pinpoint what it is. But something from the past years, not even just last year, the past 3, 4, 5 years isn't there. So I think that's a lot up to Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy to figure out and kind of iron that out. But it's definitely a problem for him right now.
Yeah, it is. All right, so let's take a look here as we roll down the schedule. As we said, we're going over this past week, Week 12. I think the biggest thing that people point to is, of course, the New England Patriots losing their first game of the season to the Denver Broncos. Just real fast, let's note, Seattle Seahawks versus Pittsburgh Steelers was a heck of a game. The Seahawks pulled that one off 39-30. And, of course, the Arizona Cardinals barely, I think it's fair to say, they beat the 49ers. I don't know, with the way the Cardinals have been playing this season, they probably should have pulled ahead in that game more than they did.
Yeah, their offense is one of the best in the NFL. Carson Palmer, not playing his age, he's definitely one of the top quarterbacks in this league. And I don't know, Blaine Gabbert was the leading passer in that game. He had 318 yards against a solid Arizona defense. But we'll see. It's hard to really see Arizona not turning that around pretty quickly. And then a quick note from that Seattle game. Tough loss for them. Jimmy Graham placed on the IR earlier this week. Done for the season. Not that they were really using him in the way that a lot of teams would have.
Right.
But he's still an impact player. The defense has to account for him at all times, or else he's going to burn you. But as you mentioned, that New England-Denver game, definitely the biggest of the week.
Absolutely.
And I do have to say, Brock Osweiler, okay? I've been talking about this guy for a long time. I'm saying he's my future MVP candidate. I'm going to give him about 2 years. So I think in 2 years, he's going to be the MVP of the league. And he showed it. He beat Tom Brady, the immortal Tom Brady.
Well, I take a look at Brock Osweiler, and I think of Aaron Rodgers, not in the sense that they're the same type of quarterback, but I remember living in Green Bay. I went to a preseason game with the Packers, at a Packers game at Lambeau Field. They were playing the Tennessee Titans. This is when I was 11 years old, and Brett Favre was starting the first quarter of the game. Like I said, it was preseason. He goes out there, throws a touchdown or two, and then here comes the guy, Aaron Rodgers, the backup quarterback, and he was terrible. He was terrible. But we take a look at him now, Super Bowl champion, MVP. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre and learned from the best. And Brock Osweiler, he's sitting behind Peyton Manning. He sat behind him for a couple seasons now. You have to look at them and say, man, this guy can be good. He can be the MVP in 2 years.
It's really interesting to see because Brock Osweiler goes 23 for 42 in that game, which isn't a stat line that's going to pop out to 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The interception wasn't really his fault, just took a tough hit. And then you're thinking, 23 out of 42, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Tom Brady's got to have his number in that game. Tom Brady, same exact line, 23 out of 42, only 10 yards more at 280 touchdowns. He had, or 280 yards, excuse me. Hey, Tom Brady could do that. 3 touchdowns. It's just not something you would expect to happen, and they lost Gronk during that game. But still, the Patriots being the team they are, that's a game that you'd expect them to win, and now Denver's kind of thrown their name in the hat for the AFC, for the top team in the AFC.
Right. Yeah, and
it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Right, yeah, we'll see where that goes, and, just the amount of Patriots fans that were complaining about the referees after that game. Listen, if you're a Patriots fan, and this is just my opinion, you don't ever have the right to be talking about referees and cheating, because we know where that's going to lead. We know where that discussion goes, okay? So let's take a look here at the last game of the season. It was, the last game of Week 12. I'm getting ahead of myself. It was the Monday night game. It was Baltimore and Cleveland, and it ended quite dramatically. Baltimore ends up with the kick 6 for the game winner. Kick 6, if you will.
Will Hill! Will Hill!
Just stunning for the Browns. And, you see these things on social media. There were so many people taking videos from the Browns, sitting in the stands. They're taking these videos because they think they're going to get the game-winning field goal on video, and instead the kick gets blocked, and the Ravens take it back to score. It's absolutely deflating for Browns fans. But, man, what is happening with them?
I'm sorry. Who are the Ravens now in the first place?
Yeah.
They lose their starting quarterback, running back, and number 1 wide receiver, and they somehow win. Now it's against the Browns, but they somehow win a game. Matt Schaub, I guess he's got experience, but the Cleveland Browns. I'm so glad that Cleveland fans have the Cavaliers in the NBA for something to watch, because these Cleveland
depressing.
Browns, I don't even know what to tell you about them. They move up in the draft a couple years ago, and you're like, okay, well, they're going to take Johnny Manziel right away, right? Nope. Instead, they take Justin Gabriel, and then again, they move up to the number 22 pick and take who everyone expected, Johnny Manziel, knowingly that he's a partier. Everyone knows this throughout his college career at Texas A&M, that Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, loves to party, and they're willing to trade picks to move up. And then on a bye week, when every other player in the league on their bye week is going out and partying and enjoying their family, Johnny Manziel parties. Okay, well now all of a sudden let's demote him to the 3rd string. I just don't understand. And, credit to Austin Davis. He really helped out the Browns in that game. He had a nice 42-yard touchdown to Travis Benjamin. But the Browns have a lot of issues right now. I'm sorry. They're 2-9 on the season. They're not doing anything except competing for the number 1 overall draft pick this year.
Right.
You would think that the sense would be that they're going to put their number 22 pick out there, Johnny Football, and help them learn and adapt to the NFL instead of their old man Jenkins, Josh McCown, who, credit to him, has been playing spectacular for a 2-9 team this season. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand it. I don't understand what the Browns are really doing ever, but especially this year. It's bad. I feel bad for everyone involved with that franchise.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of Browns fans are calling for the heads of their coach and general manager, but, we'll see what happens with them going on. I personally, Johnny Manziel, for me, he was a guy that I wasn't a big fan of in college, and going into the NFL, I was kind of hoping that, he'd get hit hard as soon as he stepped on the field, but to be honest, it's fun to see him play. It was fun to watch. I watched the Browns play. I believe it was the Bengals a couple weeks ago, and he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. He's a good quarterback. All right, so let's take a look here. We've recapped Week 12. Shall we jump ahead into Week 13?
The lucky Week 13.
All right, we're into Week 13. We've got a Thursday night matchup coming up tomorrow night, or tonight, Thursday, December 3rd. The Green Bay Packers against the Detroit Lions. This has implications for the Packers because this is not only it's a divisional game against the Detroit Lions, but they're looking to gain back a game on the Minnesota Vikings, who play Seattle on Sunday.
Yeah, that's going to be an important game. Man, if Green Bay loses to Chicago, that's one thing. But if you're losing to Detroit, that'd be another thing.
Yeah, and we're already one game down on them this season. So they beat us.
I fully expect them to take down Detroit, but Detroit's kind of one of those offenses where they can put up 50 points in a week. So we'll see how that game goes. I definitely think Aaron Rodgers is pissed and will go out there and play a game like he's pissed and probably win the game by a large margin.
Yeah, I mean, there's a revenge factor in the game, so.
Yeah, but I think that's what a lot of people think people thought going into that game against Chicago, and that didn't happen.
Right.
But definitely I'm expecting the Green Bay win in that game.
All right. And then we've got, let's see, what else here?
You did note on that Seattle-Minnesota game. That'll be a fun one up in the chilly state of Minnesota.
It is cold. It is really cold. All right, and then we've got, of course, the team that everybody's going to have their eye on for the rest of the season is, of course, the Carolina Panthers. They're undefeated. Cam Newton is getting about as much publicity as a football player can get. I mean, he's all over the place. They're playing the Saints.
He's dabbing.
He's dabbing everywhere, man. He's dabbing at the Hornets game. He's dabbing everywhere. He was dabbing at the Auburn game. At least he was for, the first half, and then kind of all went downhill. Let's see. Panthers, Saints. Okay, this is a matchup on Sunday. This is a game that, the Saints are one of those teams that, you never know with the Saints. They could pull off some crazy victory. They could beat the Panthers, but I don't think that's likely. The Panthers are looking like the team to beat, I think, as far as the NFC goes.
Yeah, and it's weird because the expectations were so low for Carolina coming in to the season, and then they've just blown everyone away, at 11-0. Are you kidding me? And like you said, they're the team to beat. Cam Newton, I think, is probably the top candidate right now for the MVP, if not one of the top.
Yeah.
And that defense is playing extraordinary. You got two defensive player of the year, which we'll get into later, Josh Norman, Luke Kuechly. Thomas Davis is also playing incredibly well. He's like the linebacking leader for interceptions. So they got a lot going for them. The Saints, Drew Brees can kind of pull off anything at any time. Kind of another offense just like Detroit where they can explode for points, but they're missing some people. Marcus Colston hasn't showed up this year. Jimmy Graham not on the team anymore. Mark Ingram is playing well, but they've just been getting knocked out early in their games in the past couple of weeks, and that really sets them back. But yeah, definitely gonna be an interesting matchup there.
Right. So that's about it as far as if we're talking top tier matchups for this Sunday. It's not particularly going to be an exciting Sunday as far as looking at the schedule. Now, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Every game can be exciting. So let's transition here. Let's take a look at the playoff picture for the NFL right now. We're looking at we're looking at some of these teams here. You know, we've got the Patriots and the Panthers, of course, who are going to be up there. Then, of course, there's the Bengals and the Cardinals. Bengals in the AFC, they're runners-up, and the NFC is the Cardinals. We've got the Packers and the Seahawks in the hunt for that NFC wild card, as well as the Texans and the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken, in the AFC wild card. Are there any matchups that you're looking forward to in the playoffs, Garrett, as of right now? If the playoffs were to be happening today, who do you think would be the best matchup for the Super Bowl?
The best matchup, I think, in terms of the Super Bowl and teams that would be in the Super Bowl, or are you just talking like first round of the playoffs?
I'm talking all the way.
All the way. Man, I don't know. I would really want to pick the Bengals right away, but they've had some interesting losses, losing 10-6 to the Texans, and Texans defense is the Texans defense, but the Bengals offense is the Bengals offense, and to only put up 6 points was very surprising. And then a loss to a very good Cardinals team, but 2 in a row there. I would want to pick them, but they just haven't showed up, I think, in prime games. And so for me, it's hard to pick someone other than the Patriots. Rob Gronkowski not going to be out as long as most people expected when he first went down. If the Broncos bring back Peyton Manning, which is surprising that that's even a talk, but Osweiler's playing well. Mm-hmm. Peyton Manning just not the guy he used to be. I don't think he's the right guy for them right now. Man, in that conference, I'm going to have to go with the Patriots for the AFC. For the NFC, right now I think the NFC is a jumbled mess. There's a lot going on there, and it's really hard to predict what's going to happen. The Carolina Panthers are 11-0, but people are still saying they haven't faced anyone tough enough. Cardinals are 9-2, and they're always doing well, and then something happens to them late season. The Vikings have looked good. The Packers have looked good. Seattle's known for their late season runs. In that conference, it's tough. Again, it's kind of like what I was saying with the Broncos. They're a team that you would expect to be, an annual contender, but the Packers just aren't there right now.
Yeah. And
then your second option you would think in the NFC is Seattle, and Seattle isn't there right now. They've lost some bad games, and I don't know how to pick against the Panthers right now. And I hate to pick 2 number 1 seeds, but
their number 1
team
seeds
is
for
11-0. Yeah, a team is 11-0 for, like you said, a reason. And so it's really hard to pick against the Panthers for me right now. So as much as I don't like to say it, I'm probably gonna go with Panthers Patriots. I guess in the Super Bowl. It sounds so weird considering
right.
The Panthers weren't even for sure playoff candidate before the season, but
right.
Yeah, that's my matchup.
Well, hey, we're jumping ahead of ourselves. Obviously, there's still a long ways to go. These teams can get themselves together and they can, put together a run in the playoffs. Who knows? So that was an NFL wrap-up. We hope you're happy after that. You're prepared for this upcoming week. You're caught up on what happened last week. We wanted to get into a little bit here about the Defensive Player of the Year candidates, okay? We're about halfway through the season. Some names are starting to pop up among the, columnists and whatnot in the sports world about who the NFL Defensive Player of the Year should go to as of right now, as long as their stats stay up throughout the rest of the season. And, of course, the number 1 candidate, who else could it be but the man from the Houston Texans, J.J. Watt?
He's a beast.
Yes,
I'm telling you something. It's got to be the elbow brace. You think about this. He's got the elbow brace. Tyler Eifert has an elbow brace.
Oh, does he?
Those are 2 top players right now. Tyler Eifert's the touchdown leader. So I don't know about you, but
there has to.
I've been thinking about going out and getting an elbow brace for myself to see if it improves
Your
my
schoolwork.
performance in life.
Your schoolwork.
And school, yeah,
Bring it to
schoolwork,
school.
sports.
You'll be writing some
everything.
crazy essays with an elbow brace.
I'm excited. But yeah, man, JJ Watt. JJ Watt is kind of like you would expect, in the NFL, like it's your top talent in the world in terms of football. You would think that like offensive line and offensive line coaches would be able to adapt to this guy and try and do something to stop him, double team him, triple team him. And he still gets to the quarterback, and he still gets to the running back, and he still dominates the line. That's amazing to me. I think maybe not this year, but he definitely kind of seems to just put his name in the hat for MVP a little bit each year, which is incredible for a defensive player.
Absolutely.
Incredible. But yeah, the Texans would not be the Texans without JJ Watt. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's a defensive force, and especially for a team like the Texans, they need him. So, of course, he's going to be the number one candidate as of right now. Not sure if there's anyone who can beat him, but some potentials who, could come up there and maybe, sneak one in. We've got, of course, we talked about him earlier, Josh Norman, the Carolina Panthers cornerback, having a fantastic season. You also look at a guy like Luke Kuechly, Carolina Panthers middle linebacker, who's really, Luke Kuechly, he's defining the middle linebacker position again. When you talk about middle linebackers, you talk about Ray Lewis, when he was playing. Luke Kuechly he's that guy. He's becoming the perfect middle linebacker. I mean, he closes down well, he reads plays well. So he's definitely up there. Any other names that you've got, Garrett, on your mind?
Man, on this list, there's a lot of disrupting players. I really do think you just said his name, Josh Norman. I think for his age, he's doing an amazing thing in the NFL. As a defensive back, it's so hard to play well because of the rules that have shifted in favor of the wide receivers now. Mm-hmm. But he's doing it. He's shut down Dez Bryant. He shut down basically everyone that he's faced. Right. And Dez Bryant's not an easy guy to shut down. He's huge and can catch everything.
Right.
And Josh Norman did it. And no one really was talking about him in the cornerback position before the season. And I guess that's just how the Panthers roll. No one was talking about him much before the season, and now they're turning up and showing up and making a name for themselves.
They're the dark horse team. All right, so, you look at this, you're thinking J.J. Watt. We'll see as the season goes on who evolves. Maybe Josh Norman keeps making big plays and, maybe something happened to J.J. Watt. I don't think so. I think that he'll, most likely take it. I don't think there's anyone that can top a man like J.J. Watt. It's hard for a cornerback to win Defensive Player of the Year. So, the NFL, we're about wrapped up. Any last words on the NFL, Garrett?
I'm just excited for both conferences, but especially the NFC. Things are starting to move around. It's been a weird season, especially in the NFC. Overall in the NFL, it's been a weird season, but I'm excited to see what happens there. The fight for the number one pick in the draft is always exciting. Last place, it's an honor to be that team. There's a lot of things going to happen in these next 4 weeks, and it's going to decide a lot. So, you can't really turn it off right now.
Absolutely. It's going to be an exciting rest of the season. I can't wait for the playoffs. That's going to be fun. All right, so we've wrapped up the NFL, have we? It's time now for a segment that we are going to call the Weekly Rant. That's right. Every week, we're going to have one of us, we'll alternate most likely. We are going to rant about a particular subject. Anywhere in the world of sports, okay? Anywhere. Give us a couple minutes here. Let us, state our mind, basically. And, if you have any comments, be sure to leave it in our blog or tweet us at B&O Sports Show. B.O. Sports Show. That's our Twitter handle. So, the Weekly Rant, I'm going to take the duty for this one, okay? I'm going to go for it. I don't know if you saw this, Garrett, but the other day I was watching an NFL game. I can't remember which one it was. And all of a sudden this commercial comes up that's a movie trailer. And I'm watching this movie trailer. And let me just tell you the movie. It's called Concussion. Okay? This is a movie that was, filmed about the NFL and the concussion problem that the NFL has.
Wait. is the main actor Ben Roethlisberger?
No, easy, calm down. No.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
I mean, listen, that'd be a great movie, and if Ben Roethlisberger was the lead actor, I would probably go and see it. But no, instead we get the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's gonna save the day. We got the Capital One card guy. Alec Baldwin is in there. Listen, I know concussions are a big problem in the NFL. Okay, it's a serious issue. It really is. You know, these players that have played, and you know they're now dealing with these symptoms from, you know, these concussions that they sustain that are, you know, just, it's unfortunate the things that are happening to some of these players, and unfortunately some of them, you know, end up passing away because they're suffering from these CTE problems in their brain. So, but listen, making a movie called Concussion is not the right way to go. Not in my opinion. Okay? Here we got a bunch of, you know, Hollywood do-gooders who are thinking, oh, you know, concussions are a problem, and I know most about them. I can, you know, I'm going to go out there and make a movie, and I'm going to show everybody that concussions are a problem, and let's try and destroy the NFL and destroy Roger Goodell. Who, by the way, Roger Goodell is a character in this movie being played by Luke Wilson. How, like, what is that, supposed to be a caricature of Roger Goodell? Like, he's already caricaturing himself. He's become one. I mean, how are you going to portray Roger Goodell in a movie? I don't understand. Again, I just think this is a dumb idea. I won't be going and seeing this movie. If you really cared and really wanted to make a difference in the concussion issues in the NFL, go out there and, you know, donate some money to a fund, create a fund, create a charity that's dedicated to, you know, helping NFL players, retired NFL players that have concussion problems. Sign a petition, make a petition to, you know, I don't know, have Roger Goodell fired if that's how far you want to go. You know, or if you're going to film something, make a documentary or something. Make something that is going to be beneficial and, you know, uplifting to the people who are, you know, watching and wanting to help out and realizing that concussions are a problem in the NFL. Now, I know that, you know, this movie, it's a good story. I'm sure of it. You know, it's gonna be a good story and it's got a good background, but I just don't think that's the right way to go, because the way that they're portraying the trailer, it just looks like it's just gonna be a beating on the NFL and Roger Goodell and how poorly they've, you know, handled the concussion issues in the NFL. So if you're gonna go watch the movie, be my guest. Let me know how it is, and then maybe my opinion will be changed. But this is my opinion now, and that was the weekly rant.
That's strong. It was strong. I think it's tough for Hollywood to kind of get a full grasp on how, you know, a league really works and works out their issues. There was that movie Draft Day. I thought it was a good movie, but again, you can only get so much info on how a team works and how a team runs, and like you said, you know, just issues within the NFL. Major issue. We'll see how they do with it. Kind of seem, you know, you worry that they're taking this issue from the NFL and it probably will be spun into more of a Hollywood type movie and not actually focusing on the concussions like you said, but we'll have to see. Give it time. Will Smith, he's a great guy. Come on.
Will Smith, man, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's the man. And he's the man who's going to solve our problems. All right, I think I need one of those oxygen tanks after that one that the big men use on the sideline. All right,
I think what you'll really need an oxygen tank for something like this week's slate of college football games. Are you kidding me? Look at what we got here. We got a lot of good games and a lot of highly ranked games.
It's conference championship weekend.
One that I love, but no one talks about, Temple Houston. Are you kidding me?
Are you serious?
Those are two teams that they always line up and they always put up a lot of wins, but their strength of schedule isn't always top notch.
Right.
But that'll be a fun one to watch. It's an 11 a.m. game. All these games on Saturday.
Oh man, got to get up early.
But I don't know if that's what everyone's watching, Tanner.
Hey, if you're a Houston fan, if you're a Temple fan, if you're a fan of college football, get yourself up and watch that game. You've also got Texas-Baylor around that time, which is a pretty good game. Baylor was in there, you know, for discussion about the college football playoff. But, They lose two of their starting they lose their starting quarterback and then they lose their backup quarterback. They're still a good team, but unfortunately for them, no longer in the discussion. I think, of course, the biggest game. Well, there's three huge games that everybody's going to be talking about. The first one is Alabama, Florida, the SEC championship in Atlanta, Georgia. Fortunately, couldn't find any tickets to that one. That's going to be a big matchup for Alabama because they are the number 2 seed currently in the college football playoff. Now, listen, they're playing Florida. Florida's a good team. As far as the SEC goes, decent. I mean, of course, they're getting to the SEC championship, so that's something. But that should be a good game. It always is. The SEC is huge. So that one will be good. Of course, that has implications for Alabama, like I said. But I think the biggest game of all is between North Carolina and Clemson, personally.
That's fair. That could change a lot in the college football rankings as we come up to the playoffs.
Right.
It's tough for me to envision North Carolina sneaking into the top 4, even with the win over the number 1 seed. And not even based on how good they are as a team, but just based on the rankings now and the movement
there's too many.
Go with it.
There's just too many other teams, I think, for them to get in. Now, they do have a great quarterback in Marquise Williams. He's going to be, he'll put a test for sure. They'll test the Clemson defense, and it's going to be a good matchup. Clemson, North Carolina. That's 8:00 Eastern, 7:00 Central on ABC. That'll be a good game. Right after that, 17 minutes after that, if we're talking exact here, at least that's what it's scheduled. We have the Michigan State Spartans going up against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now that's a big game.
That's a huge game. My mom is actually a Iowa alumni, and although I had to inform her that they were actually doing well this season for her to know anything, she's excited for that. I'm excited for that. It's interesting. I'm actually heading out to an event this Saturday, and they moved it back so that people could watch the Iowa game.
Really?
So it's interesting. It's an important event coming up this weekend. Yeah, it was supposed to go till 7, and they moved it. It only goes till 5, so now people can go, get their dinner, settle down, watch the game. That one is going to be a thriller, I think, any which way you look at it. Iowa, the dark horse, that is still the dark horse and has made it up there.
Undefeated.
Versus Michigan State, who just beat what was supposed to be the best team in the Big Ten in Ohio State. That's going to be a good one. I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be a great game. And right before those two big ones kick off, the Pac-12, one of the best conferences in college football, USC Stanford. How do you feel about that one, Tanner?
I'm looking forward to the game. Listen, I really like Stanford as a team. Now, I'm a Pac-12 fan. My dad and mom are alumni of the University of Arizona. Now, unfortunately, the Wildcats didn't have a very good season this year, but we'll look past that. And we've got Stanford USC in the Pac-12 championship. Like I said, I like Stanford. I like their running back, Christian McCaffrey. He's, fantastic. He's fun to watch. And, it becomes shaky because Stanford's a really good team. They have potential, but there's too many things going on in the playoff for you to really think that they can get in, okay? I want to take a look here at the college football playoff. Right now, currently, the seeds have stayed the same from what they were last week, at least the top 4. We've got Clemson at number 1. We've got Alabama at number 2. And then, of course, Oklahoma at number 3, and Iowa have stayed at number 4. Now, Oklahoma's in. They've won everything they're in as far as the playoff goes. But it gets complicated when you start talking about the potential for Ohio State or Stanford to get in, because if Clemson loses, that's where it becomes shaky.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I just don't. Again, North Carolina, I don't think they're going to be able to jump up 6 spots into the top 4 with the Clemson win. And then you look and you don't really know even if Clemson is going to fall out of the top 4 with a loss.
Right.
The Iowa-Michigan State game definitely decides one of those top 4. We're expecting Alabama to win.
Right.
Oklahoma definitely already in.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your three spots filled, and it's just about that fourth. And I guess the only way that Stanford can get in is with a Clemson loss and a Stanford win, and I think they would both have to be pretty big margins of victory, with North Carolina beating Clemson, or just shutting down Clemson on offense, I think would be a big statement. And then Stanford, really taking it to USC in their game, and maybe they'd have an argument then, but it's tough. This top 4, or I guess I should say top 5 with Michigan State in there, I think is going to be your solid 5 right now, and just the only X factor is Iowa and Michigan State really fighting for that 4th spot.
Right. And let me just, if Clemson was happened to lose to North Carolina, I don't think that merits them to be out of the playoff. I honestly think the only way that Stanford gets in is if Alabama ends up losing to Florida. Now that's not likely, at least not, it's not what we're thinking is going to happen. But if Alabama were to lose to Florida, the SEC is out of the picture, and that would open the door to Stanford getting in, or then there's some talk about Ohio State getting back in. Personally, I think Stanford has had a tougher schedule than Ohio State, and Ohio State doesn't deserve to be in there. Again, that's a personal opinion, but we'll see what happens. It's the college football playoff. It's much more exciting now than it was a couple years ago without the playoffs. So it'll be a good couple weeks coming up here. Looking forward to it. That's the best time of year, man, isn't it? This Christmas break that you get these bowl games, and you just get to relax with family.
Yeah, this time of year, oddly enough, I'm glad that the sports gods decided this, that we'll have the college football playoffs, the Super Bowl, and then March Madness during the coldest time of the year, at least up here in Chicago, where we hit negative temperatures already so far this year.
Man, I don't know. Sometimes I don't miss that. So, talking about college football, we're going to stick with it. Let's talk a little bit here as we wrap up. We're starting to wrap up the show here. Talk a little bit about the Heisman watch, shall we? Okay. The front runner for the Heisman, and I think we both agree on this, it's got to be Derrick Henry from Alabama.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone kind of competing with him for that top spot right now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, they want to talk about Deshaun Watson, the Clemson quarterback, who could potentially be up there. I think Deshaun Watson is the second place. I think that's fair to say. Some other names that have been thrown around: Christian McCaffrey, the running back from Stanford. He's fantastic. He's been excellent for Stanford, a real asset to their offense. Then, of course, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, a lot of running backs this year. So those are some potential names to throw out there. Derrick Henry, he's too good. He's just showing up every single game. He's showing up, and he's just a monster. He's running people over. He's running past people. I mean, he's like Eddie Lacy when I wish I could talk. When Eddie Lacy was in Alabama, you look at the guy, he was just a beast. And Derrick Henry, I see some Eddie Lacy in Derrick Henry. He's smaller than Eddie Lacy, but he's still just a beast.
Can we talk about him having not 20, not 30, 46 carries?
Oh.
Against Auburn.
Yeah.
46 carries. They're not afraid to really give him the rock, turn that into 271 yards and a touchdown. He's averaging 6.1 yards per carry on the season. He's fighting on every single carry that he gets.
Yeah.
He's 3 yards shy of 1,800. He's got 22 touchdowns. His only weakness, I guess, if you want to say he has a weakness, is that he's not brilliant in the passing game, but he doesn't need to be right now.
Exactly.
He's the best running back in college football. That's secure. If his number one Heisman spot isn't secure, him being the best running back, I think, is, and maybe it'll come down to how him and Deshaun Watson perform in their last couple games here, in their championship games and then later in the bowl games, but I think Derrick Henry's definitely at the top spot right now. It'd take a major upset, some real shifting going on for that to change.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's going to come down. I think definitely it'll be, coming down to these playoff games as they head into it. And, whichever team wins the playoff, potentially we've got a Heisman candidate on each team that could win. Some other quick news as we're wrapping up. We were speaking of Alabama, speaking of Derrick Henry. Speaking of Georgia, let's jump that one. The big news this week was that Mark Richt, the Georgia head coach, was fired. Of course, I reside in Noonan, Georgia, and boy, the SEC is just huge down here, and the dogs are everything. Mark Richt was fired. He lost his spot, and the rumors are, the biggest news out of the college football world is that Kirby Smart, the defensive coordinator from Alabama, is going to be announced as the new head coach for the Bulldogs coming up supposedly this Sunday. So we'll see. Give him some time to take care of Florida on Saturday. That'll be a great fit for the Bulldogs. I think he's an alum. He can really help the Bulldogs out, get them back on track, because this season was not by any standards, not by any means up to their standards. So that's pretty much it for college football. Listen, we're glad that you were able to tune in again. My name is Tanner Ballard.
I'm Garrett Otto.
And this has been the B&O Sports Show. You can check us out. Our Twitter handle is BO Sports Show. And we will have links to our blog. So from me and Garrett, have a good day. Goodbye.